Kresha,
Yes.
what would you like to say?
All right, let's see. My name is Kresha K. Trahan, and I stand before this court today as a voice for the shattered remains of my family, a family that has been ruthlessly decimated. Not only were lives stolen, but also our peace, our trust, and the very fabric of what a family should be. Charles, my uncle, and my mother Kay's beloved brother, was so much more than just a relative. He was a cornerstone of our family. I remember his infectious laugh, his corny jokes, his unwavering optimism, and his genuine care for everyone around him. He had a way of making everyone feel seen and valued. I gotta catch my breath. One of my fondest memories is how he was always there for my mother, his sister, Kay. Their bond was incredibly strong, and they supported each other through everything. He was the kind of man who would drop anything to help someone in need. The news of his death in July 2019 shattered me, and it sent shockwaves through our entire family. It was sudden and incomprehensible. My mother, Kay Vallow Woodcock, his sister, was also devastated. The pain of losing her brother was immense, and it was a wound that has never fully healed. It's hard to see your own mother go through these kind of things because it's something you can't fix. For me, it felt like a light had gone out in the world. We relied on his steady presence and his ability to bring people together. The initial grief was compounded by the horrific circumstances surrounding his death. To learn that his own wife was involved in his demise was a betrayal of the deepest kind. It added a layer of anger and disbelief to our sorrow. The questions of why and how haunted us, turning our grief into a constant ache of injustice. We now know the chilling extent of the premeditation. Records on Chad Daybell's Gmail account show searches for Ned Snyder, 1996, Death, Louisiana, and bodies possessed after original occupant dies, as early as January 28, 2019. This was before Charles was ever referred to as Ned Snyder. This revealed a calculated descent into her delusion. Charles was fighting for his life and for his children's future long before his death. On February 20th, 2019, Charles called Banner Life to change his beneficiary to my mother, Kay, specifically for his special needs son, and to place a PIN code on his account. He was clearly concerned about someone accessing his account. Just 6 days later, on February 26, 2019, he called again to finalize the change, but couldn't provide a password he had never set. That's how distraught he was. He had never set the password. He had set the password and forgot that he had set the password. Growing angry as he suspected fraudulent access. From March 19th to March 21st, 2019, even while Charles was alive and still married, his wife and Chad Daybell traveled from Idaho to Arizona together, as evidenced by tickets in her iCloud account. On March 21st, 2019, she was back at the Four Points Sheraton in Mesa using their Wi-Fi, all while plotting and believing in twisted narratives. Her so-called spiritual beliefs were nothing more than a thinly veiled excuse for murder, justification for murder. The names used for Charles, Ned Schneider, Heplos, we don't know, were born from Chad Daybell's internet searches. Zalema's cellular phone records paint a disturbing picture of the generated belief system with discussions about Chad's so-called gifts to cast out dark spirits, remove swords, and place spiritual armor. This was all a grotesque fabrication designed to justify heinous crimes. There was talk of healing quicker and reversing age, for Christ's sake. Oh, wow. While actively plotting the deaths of innocent people that trusted her. Perhaps the most heartbreaking detail is the decision Charles made to try and make his marriage work. He truly believed in reconciliation, and he really loved Lori, his wife. He took his wife back into his life, and in a text to his attorney, Taylor, he wrote, quote, "What can I say, Taylor? Love always wins," unquote. These were the words of a man clinging to hope, a hope that ultimately led him to his death. Tylie, my step-cousin, was a bright and blossoming young woman full of life and potential. Even though our family connection was through marriage, she was our family connection. She was always considered one of us. I remember her vibrant energy and her protective nature towards JJ. It reminds me of how I am with my brother Todd. She had dreams of traveling the world and truly living life. She possessed a unique spirit and a kindness that radiated from her. When Tylie disappeared, the initial worry quickly turned into agonizing fear. We desperately hoped for her safe return, clinging to any shred of possibility. The eventual news of her murder was soul-crushing. A stark and brutal end to a life that had barely begun. The pain of knowing her potential was extinguished so violently, it's unbearable. We mourn the experiences she will never have, the milestones she will never reach, and the person she would have become. The world is undeniably darker without Tylie's light. And then JJ, my nephew, my only nephew, was a sweet and innocent little boy who brought immeasurable joy to our family. Joshua Jackson Vallow was born Canaan Todd Trahan. He was born to my brother Todd Trahan and his longtime girlfriend Mandy Leger in Lake Charles, Louisiana on May 25th, 2012. He was 10 weeks premature and he had drugs in his system. I remember pacing the halls of the labor and delivery floor to see what his prognosis was. And I remember praying and reaching out to friends on social media to ask them to pray too. I remember him having tubes and wires coming out of his tiny little body to help him reach stable balance. My nephew smashed my own doubts and fought so hard to come into this world. And it's no surprise to me to learn how he fought for his life to stay in this world. When his mother, his uncle, and his mother's side piece preyed on a 7-year-old autistic boy and snuffed him out. Think about that. Later burying him in a shallow grave in the backyard of her future husband's property. As an autistic child, he had unique challenges, but also unique gifts. His infectious giggle, his love for dinosaurs and planes, and his need for a routine or memories we will forever cherish. I saw a video where he would line up his plushie toys and he would play the drums for his audience. It was so cute. Okay, sorry. My mouth is so dry. Or how he sang on my parents' 56-passenger bus and then was joined by his Papa Larry to sing to one another. I'm also blessed to have captured this interaction on film that day. I never knew it would be played by news outlets all over the world when he and his sister Tylie had gone missing. He was a vulnerable and trusting child who relied on the adults in his life for love and protection. The betrayal of trust in his adoption and subsequent murder is a profound and lasting wound. She adopted him to get him out of a bad situation just to murder him? Lori Noreen Cox was an unloved daughter. She didn't even get her own name. She was never allowed to be herself, an individual with her own identity and her own life. She was always told she was someone else, living someone else's life. Her mother, in her grief over losing her infant daughter, convinced herself that Lolly's spirit came back to her in a new body. She convinced herself that she never lost Lolly, but that Lolly was so special she was allowed to come back to Earth again. And then she was convinced that she was Lolly. But the reality is that Lolly was lost. The hard truth is that sometimes infants die, and there's no reasoning and no explanation that makes it feel better. Sometimes babies just die. But her mother couldn't sit with that. She couldn't accept that, and so instead she taught her that she was Laura Lee. She taught her that Laura Lee must have had such a special mission that her spirit got to come back in her body. She was taught that she didn't matter. She was taught that she didn't deserve to have her own name, her own life, her own identity. She was devoured. And then to make matters worse, she was violated. I don't know when or how or by whom exactly, but she knows. She knows what happened. She knows who did it to her. She may pretend that it never happened, but the memory of it lives in her cells, and she can't ignore because those feelings come for her, and they find her in the quiet moments she wishes would go away. I know what it, okay, sorry. I'm gonna skip. That was, I'm crediting Megan for that. Here's the final plea for justice. The actions of the defendant have systematically dismantled families, leaving behind a trail of unimaginable grief and trauma. My family, especially my mother and my brother, have endured unspeakable pain because of these actions. We lost a brother, a son, and a nephew, and the lingering fear and sorrow inflicted are a constant heavy burden. I implore this court to impose the maximum sentence possible. The defendant deserves to spend the rest of her life incarcerated, held accountable for every life stolen, every heart broken, and every family destroyed. Her calculated cruelty has earned her nothing less than the hardest consequences. Let justice finally be served for Charles, Tylie, and JJ, and I can't forget Tammy. My uncle Charles's last words to his attorney about taking his wife back were, "What can I say, Taylor? Love always wins." In his memory and for the countless lives impacted by these horrific crimes, I hope that justice for once truly wins. Thank you.
Thank you.